Welcome to another virtual listening session held by the members of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm Dylan Blaylock with Clackamas County's Public and Government Affairs Department, and I'll be coordinating public comments for today's meeting. Today we have with us Chair Jim Bernard and Commissioners Ken Humberston, Sonia Fisher, Paul Savis, and Martha Schrader is joining in to listen, though not on the screen. Additionally, Clackamas County Administrator Gary Schmidt is joining in as well. My thanks to all of you for being here. Today's listening session is an opportunity for county residents and stakeholders to relay comments about wildfire recovery. Chair Bernard will provide some opening remarks, and then we will move on to opening up the Zoom lines, as it were. Chair Bernard.
Well, again, thank you for joining us. We just got off a visit to Estacada area and various fire areas. And of course, our hearts go out to you who have lost property. And I can tell you that Clackamas County is here to help where we can. And our commissioners have all went on that tour. Also, just to note, Martha has a medical appointment that she cannot change. During this ongoing pandemic and now during this time of natural disasters, the Board of County Commissioners has prioritized staying directly connected to our residents and stakeholders. We've held many virtual listening sessions and town halls since April in order to hear what our residents are experiencing. And of course, wildfires struck our county just a couple weeks ago, and over 200,000 of you had to evacuate. Clackamas County continues to partner with other organizations fighting these fires, and we have an emergency operations center dedicated to working with those organizations. Our center will be active for weeks. Many of you have evacuated and returned home. However, more than 3,000 residents of Clackamas County are still not able to return. We are doing everything we can to support you. Sadly, we have lost about 200 structures and at least 50 homes, 150 other types. We are still assessing the damage and the numbers will grow. Some of you may have received news that your homes have been damaged or destroyed. Our hearts and sincere thoughts go out to you. We want to ensure that you have the resources you need to rebuild and recover. Today, my fellow commissioners and I are holding a listening session on wildfire recovery. This is not a question and answer session. However, we may answer some questions. But if you just see us listening and not commenting, that's what we're here to do, is to listen to you. If we don't respond, please, we do care. And if we can respond or somebody will respond to your questions, we'll do exactly that. And we can also reach us, get some of those answers at EOCPIC@clackamas.us. That's EOCPIC@clackamas.us, and our emergency operations staff will assist. Let me be clear on what we are looking for today. And as I speak for all commissioners in saying that we are dedicated to ensuring residents' safety and positioning the county to recover. We want you to know the following. This must be done in order to recover. What areas of investment would be most helpful and can include sections like housing, forest management, job training, etc. What do businesses throughout Clackamas County need to be able to endure? Again, this is not a question and answer period, as the time is devoted to commissioners hearing from residents and stakeholders. And again, if you have any wildfire questions, you can go to EOCPIC@clackamas.us. And finally, I just want to make sure that if you live in the Estacada area, you know that your community has status has been placed at 0. So you can go home and you can be safe. Bringing up a map here of Estacada area and the area we visited today, which is in red. And please return home safely. And again, if we can help, let us know. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dylan. Dylan?
All right. Thank you, Chair Bernard. I also have several emails to read from individuals who were not able to make this meeting live, and I will be reading those over the course of the next 55 minutes or so. We received more than 25 emails, so we may not be able to get to all of them, but they will be shared with the board. I'm going to start off very quickly before we go to the lines by addressing some of the more common themes we have seen in some of the comments. Again, just very briefly. First, we received comments about voter displacement and ballots, which also came up at last night's community meeting. I wanted to share this with everyone. On the elections page at Clackamas County, at clackamas.us/elections, in the middle of the page, there is a thorough FAQ about displaced voters, and key information about options can be found along here. Next, there were questions about how people can give and help others. If you go to the primary wildfires page, there is a button right in the middle of the page on how to help right here. And the primary wildfires page is clackamas.us wildfires. How to help goes here, and then you can get some helpful buttons here as far as donating items, what organizations are accepting donations, and if you need resources. And lastly, some notes about aid and emergency funding, specifically about FEMA. County officials are working with FEMA, and there are now FEMA representatives in both Estacada and Molalla to assist individuals in completing their claims with FEMA for individual assistance. This was posted on the Clackamas County Facebook page just a short while ago. You can see in Molalla, it's at the Foothills Community Church, and at Estacada, it's in Estacada City Hall. Both are open from 1 to 4 today, and from 10 to 4 tomorrow in Molalla, 10 to 5 tomorrow in Estacada, and for days after. All right, if any attendees would like to provide a comment, you can do so now by hitting your raise hand button on the Zoom bar. That's at the top or bottom, depending on your device. And you can also hit *9 if you are on the phone. In looking over how many people we have in the audience, we will ask you to keep your comments to 2 minutes. Once a person hits that time, I might be dinging this bell, which is your signal to start, please ending your comments. So thank you very much. Looks like the first first is from a phone call. I don't know the person's name, but the last 3 digits are 916. So if you're at 916, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself on the phone, and you are going to be on with County Commissioners. I've moved you over, caller, again, ending in 916, but it still shows you're muted. I'm not sure how to do that on the phone. It usually comes over. So maybe on the mute button on your phone. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, this is Joan Zuber. I live in very South Clackamas County in the Elk Prairie area. And first of all, I'd like to have an acknowledgement that the Beachy Creek fire did damage part of Clackamas County. I think that there needs to be a look at everything, all the failures that took place during this disaster, starting with a neighbor concerned that the fire might be spreading and went down to where he could see, came back, called 911, and they didn't even know there was a fire in Clackamas County. The other thing is that I think we need to realize that the neighbors are the ones that fought off the fire and kept our homes from being damaged. So I think we need to have the Board of County Commissioners take a look, and it's not just through the county, it was Oregon Department of Forestry, it was individual fire districts. I think there could be a little bit of organization and planning for future disasters, and perhaps have the 911 operators have an idea that maybe there's a possibility there might be a fire. So I guess I sound a little bit frustrated, but Thanks for listening. Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. Appreciate that. Okay, and again, if you have any comments and you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand button to let us know that you have something to share. Also, it's been passed on to me. If you are on the phone and you need to unmute, it is *6. So thank you very much to our producers for telling me that. I don't see any hands up right now, so I'm going to move to the first batch of emails that we got ahead of time for people who wanted to relay comments but could not join at this time. The first is from Amber M. As someone who has level 3 evacuated but was blessed enough to come home to a house, I think as a community we should first focus on those who lost housing and helping them manage until they can manage on their own again. I would also like to take a moment to thank all of the first responders and volunteers who worked so tirelessly to not only fight the fire and keep us safe, but to try and keep our community free from looters and arsonists as well. Next comment, and thank you very much for that, Amber. The next comment was Janelle M. Please consider an area of investment that would be helpful. Access to reduced or no-cost tree trimming / chipping and invasive plant cleanup, such as highly flammable evergreen and Himalaya blackberry. Vetted providers for the service and/or access to county resources to secure properties as well as possible. Additionally, single source access for fire information through an app and website rather than a social media platform. Lastly, a better handle on crazy conspiracy generating activities that politicized the situation. Best regards, Janelle. I'll do a couple more. And again, if anyone is out there and would like to give their comment live, please go ahead and hit the raise hand feature on Zoom. From Jeanette J, this was very quick. We just simply said, we need more forest management. And then last, at least for right now, Kate S. The county commissioners can make a significant impact on our community's disaster recovery efforts by waiving the burdensome permitting, building, and inspection fees for families that are faced with rebuilding the homes they have lost due to these wildfires. The government should not profit from the tragedy of its citizens. Thank you for your time and consideration. Again, thank you for the note, Kate S. Again, if any individuals on Zoom are interested in giving a comment, you can go ahead and hit the raise hand feature and we will get to you. We don't have any hands up right now, so I'm just going to keep reading the comments that came in ahead of time because commissioners, we had 25 to 30 of them.
Hey, man, I'm sitting here thinking I'd like to make a comment on the last one.
Very good.
Now, the county does not profit from permitting and inspecting. Actually, the idea is public safety. So we have electrical inspectors, plumbing inspectors to make sure that your contractor is doing the job properly. I'll tell you something I did, and I apologize that I did this. So we have a place that a guy asked me, do we want to permit this heat pump? And I said, nah, this is not here in Clackamas County, by the way. So less than a year later, it shorted out the heat pump motor and the evaporator because the guy had not grounded it. If I had done it properly, I would have a heat pump. Instead, I'm paying $1,600 to repair that heat pump because I didn't want to go through permitting. We do not do this work at the county at a profit. It's not like all of us go out and get a share of whatever we charge. It goes back to you, the taxpayer, in making sure you're safe.
Very good. Thank you very much for that, Chair. I see we do have a hand that's been raised. It is from Adam Spencer. Adam, you're on. If you can just go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. And you're on with County Commissioners. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Dylan, and thank you all for having this meeting today. I work for the Clackamas River Basin Council and just want to respond to a previous comment about invasives removals. That's something that the council coordinates throughout the Clackamas River Basin. And so anyone who would be interested in the future or in post-fire recovery, getting involved with us, we just have a hearty invitation to help people with erosion control and control invasives. So thank you all, and our thoughts are with our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Adam. Okay. Well, commissioners, I'm still seeing not a lot of hands up, a little odd since we have a decent amount of attendees and we got a lot of emails ahead of time. So I'm just going to keep reading the emails. And I think at this point, because we haven't had a lot of hands go up, if anybody wants to chime in after any comments, please feel free to do so. The reason we wanted the listening session was to hear from a lot of our people, make sure we had enough time, but obviously we can change things. So the next is from Steve G, who is identifies himself as the chair of the Rhododendron CTO. While PGE did a great job and should be commended for letting residents along the Highway 26 Hoodland corridor know of the preemptive power shutdown prior to the wind, I was very disappointed in the emergency communications that followed the power outage. Many on the mountain have generators that would allow them to power freezers, some lights, and even modems and routers for internet communication. However, as soon as the power was shut off, so too was both the Wave Internet and Ziply Fiber copper wire phone service and their internet access. Cell service on the mountain, especially in the forest, is non-existent, so residents had no way of staying connected. Many drove out towards Sandy just to get internet and/or cell service. Luckily, our area stayed in level 1 evacuation, but what if the direction of the fire changed and we went to level 3? I am very concerned about emergency communications up on the mountain and hope that at least cell service can be improved since internet and landline communication rely so heavily on overhead wires that were compromised by the storm. Thanks for listening. Okay, I see another hand has gone up, so we're going to go to Zoom again. Kate Howells, or at least that is what the handle is. There we go. Kate, you are on with County Commissioners.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kate.
Go ahead.
Great. Just a quick question. I got in on the very end of the last caller for to contact for invasive control. Can you give me the name of that person or company again?
It's the Clackamas River Water Basin, and Ken, do you know the name?
It's the Clackamas River Basin Council. I don't have the, it's Clackamas River Basin Council. I don't have the contact information, but you should be able to find it on the web.
Great, thank you so much.
The gentleman's name was Adam Spencer. I see he just raised his hand again.
Adam Spencer, thank you.
There we go. All right, thank you very much for that, Kate. Let me see. So next we are going to go to Rachel. I'll say it's Schatz, maybe. Rachel, if you are there, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. A couple of different points I'd like to make, if I could. One is adding on to the person up on the mountain who lost cell service. We are down in the Wilhoit area, and we were affected by the Wilhoit fire, which I'll get to that part of it. But we also had no cell service and only found out about the evacuation because we drove up into town to get messages and found it on my phone messages that we were at level 3. So that was really scary. And we also don't have cell service out here. Okay, the other point I wanted to make was about, well, because we lost a bunch of the fire was on our property and we have lost some timber and we are kind of at a loss. We don't know what to do now as far as replanting and erosion, and the rains are going to start and we're on a big hill, and so we're very concerned about that, and we can't seem to get any answers from anybody about what to do next and what to do about the erosion and also just about the loss of the value of our timber. So just want to express about that. Was there one more point?
Well, yeah, I'm Scott. I'm also watching. Thank you. If I could just mention that for us, we lost the retirement money in our timber is gone. We don't know how to reclaim that. Everyone we call to, no one has any idea. No one can tell me what happened in previous fires in Oregon, like say in the gorge. What happened to the homeowners? How were they recompensated for the timber that they lost on their property? So we have those three issues. We have erosion, the loss of our retirement money, And replanting, according to what I understand, it's state statute says we have to replant that forest. And so again, we're at another loss for that. And then finally, I'd like to point out, in a long-term strategy, something to think about. We've only lived out in this part of Clackamas for the past 5 years, and we have noticed all of our neighbors burn their garbage all the time. So if we're not suffering because we can't breathe because of the forest fires, it's the smoke blowing from neighbors burning their garbage.
We're burning something. We don't know what they're burning.
And we've looked this up. The statute in the state is you can burn agricultural waste. You know, so if you're a farmer, you can burn or slash from timber. You're not allowed to burn piles of garbage. And what I'd like to point out and suggest, in other places in the country, they charge on their property tax, they charge for trash collection. And that way the residents can put out all the trash they want. And that would eliminate burning, as well as out here we have people driving out here and dumping their garbage out in this area. So I'd be willing to pay $300 a year additional to have my trash picked up, and knowing that my neighbors are having their trash picked up. So for your consideration.
Yes, if people choose not to get garbage service and they burn instead, this would be a solution for that. I think that's the extent of our
basically what
comments.
we're saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, but Ken hasn't answered a part of your question.
Two things. One, contact the Soil and Water Conservation District here in Clackamas County. Again, you can get their information online. That may help you on your replanting situation and erosion issues. And if they don't have direct answers, I think they can refer you to someone who does. As far as your timber situation and finance and emergency stuff, there's going to be a center set up in Molalla. I think they're in the process of putting that together. You may want to check with the mayor of Molalla, Keith Swaggart, and he may be able to give you some information on when that will be ready to go, unless our general manager has any information.
I'd also say that earlier we mentioned a website, Clackamas County website, EOCPIC at clackamas.us. And I would think that would be we could connect you to FEMA, which may provide some resources for replanting your property or compensating you for what was lost. I don't know that, but that's where I'd go to get answers.
Yes, thank you for that. That is the email address, the EOCPIC at clackamas.us. All right, thank you very much for that comment, Rachel. I'm going to read a couple of the emails that have come in or from before we go to the next call. Rick B. from West Lynn. I believe there was a federal program that used drones to fly over national forests to detect hotspots in support of immediate response. The program was suspended. Maybe we can do this on a local level. I think a feasibility study would be a good investment. Next from Robert in Rhododendron. This fire season shows the importance of our primary emergency services, law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical. Oregon taxpayers have paid for these as paramount essential needs for our communities. That was Robert in Rhododendron.
I just want to comment that, just so you know, the Sheriff's Department knocked on 2,600 doors telling people that they needed to evacuate. That's a tremendous amount of work on the part of the sheriff. They worked all night long driving, and if you were at where we were today, you'd see that some of those driveways, you're not sure there's a house down there or what's down there. So I think the Sheriff's Department needs to be commended. And of course, our firefighters, our volunteer firefighters and our professional firefighters joined with the state of Oregon, federal people. And Ken, how many states?
There were 27 states plus Canada that provided help to Clackamas County and Oregon in general for these fires. There's been as many as 5,000 firefighters on the ground in Oregon from all over the country.
I mean, there's a lot of people to thank. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you both for that. I'm going to go over to the calls that we have. Adam Spencer has raised his hand again. Adam, if you wanted to chime in on something, go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks again. Just wanted to get back following Rachel's loss of her timber. First of all, I'm really sorry to hear about that. But there was a bulletin from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and there are a lot of programs to help people who have lost livestock, who have lost private timberland, and other farmer and producer products. So if you go to nrcs.usda.gov, then look at news releases, and it's one of their latest releases from September 17th, which has a lot of information about tree assistance, emergency reforestation programs, and crop insurance. So for any of you who have lost crops or livestock or other farming products, check out with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. And I just want to repeat, we're really sorry to hear for everyone who's lost, and we're hopeful to help and replant ourselves. And that's at info@clackamasriver.org to get in touch with the Clackamas River Basin Council. Thank you.
Adam, would you repeat the USDA website again one more time?
Yes, nrcs.usda.gov.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for that.
One thing I will add, if I could, and that is that for those who want more information, the phone number for the Clackamas River Basin Council is 503-303-4372. I'll repeat that, 503-303-4372. That's right off the website.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Next, we are going to go to Kate Smith. So let me bring you over, Kate. If you can just go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. And you're on with County Commissioners.
Hi, I just wanted some clarification from Chairman Bernard on the permitting fees, which can be excess of $10,000 for rebuilding some of these homes. You're saying that 100% of those fees are direct cost?
Chair Bernard, you're on mute. Chair, you're on mute.
Oh, that's the first time. So generally, my guess is when you're rebuilding a property, you don't have to pay the cost of a full permitting. I'm pretty positive that's true. But no, we would, if it's a remodel, rebuild, that's different than starting from ground level. And yes, those when we do a project that starts from nothing, it costs a lot of money as staff time and all those things. Engineers, outside engineers to review plans to make sure they meet code. All those things. We're not making a profit off that. Our goal is to be full cost recovery, not profit.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much, Kate, for your comment. Okay, next we're going to go back to some of the emails that we've gotten. This one came from RS. A great job was done by all first responders. They went above and beyond anyone's expectations. That being said, I believe the evacuation zones were too widespread and done too quickly. The evacuation of Beaver Creek wasn't necessary. The get set for Canby and Oregon City wasn't necessary either. Nothing could be done about the smoke, so that should not come into play. Putting spray painted R's, O's, and X's in front of people's driveways was an open invitation to looters. I believe we as citizens have an expectation that our government is prepared for any disaster. If you panic, we panic. If you overreact, then we do the same. Communication with your citizens is of utmost importance at all times. This will help build trust for disaster events in the future. Again, that was from RS.
So the codes on the driveway were done by the sheriff's department to let them know if they had been able to reach the person in the home. That's something that he did, but it might be something that we could better, we could do something different. I know that on various mapping things, you can mark on the map that you've actually contacted that person. I know I do it on my boat. As far as the fire mapping, we, originally started fighting this fire with volunteers and local fire department, and then we called on the state of Oregon to help us combat this fire. At that point, we turned over control of firefighting to the state of Oregon and to the federal government, and they're the ones who set the map. And it's better safe than sorry. So, for example, Ken, who lives close to the red zone, the cell phone alert went over the line and he thought he had to evacuate. But there's just no way to be that precise. And with that wind that day, who knows what could have happened. They did the best they could with the information they could. And also, the smoke was so thick and the wind so strong, they couldn't actually fly anything over to do infrared exam to see where the fire was actually burning. So that at some point they were doing some wild guessing to try to determine where that fire is and what direction it was going. So they were just being extremely safe.
I'd like to just add one thing to that. And I think a lot of people that are watching the news probably recall this, but in that one day where those winds were blowing hard, there was one fire that moved 17 miles in one day.
Yep.
So we have to, the first priority is life safety. I mean, that is our number one priority. We're not in charge. Actually, the operations are done by the fire, the fire chief in the region, and then, as Commissioner Bernard stated, that was turned over at the state level. So that's who's in charge. But we do have a coordinated team, and we're always going to learn. We're always going to learn from every emergency. It's not a perfect science, and this listening session today is an opportunity to build on that learning experience, so we're better prepared the next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Commissioner Savas said, because he's right on the money. In talking to the fire chief and also talking to the sheriff's department, their number one objective was no loss of life. And unlike other places in Oregon and around the country, we are happy to say at this time, we did not lose any citizen or any firefighter or any deputy to the fires. No one was killed. And that's the number one metric that we follow, making sure that people are safe. We can rebuild houses and we can replant trees, and those are all difficult things, but you can't replace the life.
I live in Canby, and city of Portland's less than 17 miles away. If you think one day it went 17 miles, that's unbelievable. I mean, that's a long distance.
Yep.
Thank you all. Thank you all for those comments and that response. I'll remind everyone on Zoom, if you want to pose or if you want to relay a comment to commissioners, you can hit the raise hand function on Zoom. If you're on the phone, you can hit *9. But with that, we'll go back to the emails that we got. This one is from Ginny VL. The first thing is to assess the losses community by community. It will be some time before adjusters from insurance companies complete their processes, and therefore the needs need to be determined with insurance, though some will not have that. FEMA should be moving trailers in so people have a place to live while rebuilding. If they are not going to rebuild, then they should receive emergency help of some kind to relocate. Emergency management should have knowledge of how to get help and what to do. If not, I suggest you contact other states and see what they have done. Whatever you do, it needs to be done right away, not bogged down in a mire of bureaucracy. Winter is coming and there is no time to waste.
I know that we have a FEMA person in our emergency operator center right now.
Yes, and I'll remind individuals who are just tuning in, if you go on the Clackamas County social media page, there are FEMA representatives in Malala and Estacada that we are coordinating with right now as well. Next is from Craig S. We know that some fires are started by sparks from downed power lines, and we know that that can be prevented by burying the power lines. And we know that in the San Diego area, this works and eliminates one source of wildfires. Warming and extreme wind events at times of the year that are unheard of before have reached Oregon now, so the danger is here and real. We know that we cannot have an army of, quote, forest managers clearing underbrush, and that money needs to go to firefighters. The cost is about $1 million a mile to bury the high voltage lines. It is worth it in high risk areas now, obviously. So let's get started with contractors hired and backhoes and scoop loaders put to work and get the darned power lines buried rather than wait for another catastrophic event. We can do this. It will also provide jobs and income to the very people who need it, who live in these areas. And again, that's from Craig S.
It's a great idea, but we have 1,400 miles of roads in Clackamas County. I can't imagine how many hundreds of thousands of miles of power lines we must have. It's something that will never happen. It's never be affordable.
Okay, thanks. So let me see the next ones. Mandy B. I believe that we need to work on mending the divide between the people who live in this county. This certainly won't happen on the national stage, so focusing locally might be a way to calm all the tension, fears, and anxiety that so many Clackamas citizens like myself face every day. That said, I would like to personally thank the commissioners, community leaders, and first responders who worked so hard to keep the county safe. Again, that is from Mandy B.
Thank you.
Next from David E. I'd like to see more guidelines or requirements for construction using fire-resistant building materials similar to California, along with subsidies and aid to compensate for the higher cost. Either way, support to manufacturers, builders, or consumers. Again, David E. Next is from a group of Vicky, Trevor, Nash, and Brock. Hello, and thank you for listening to your residents of Clackamas County. Regarding the ongoing pandemic and helping the community thrive, we own 2 small businesses, and due to county slowness to reopen and our sectors shut down by government, our businesses are down 62%. We cannot thrive on 38% of our annual income. This will have a direct effect on taxes. State and county government is responsible for decimating our business, not any other factor, and we would like the county and state officials to acknowledge this. Please, please release small businesses from further decimation and eliminate all COVID-related red tape and restrictions. The cure is way worse than the threat, so we can get back to our businesses to serve the communities, which contributes to the local economy and thriving. The most helpful area of investment, Malala residents demonstrated that unity and neighbors helping one another is the most effective way to face and recover from disasters. Please invest in neighborhood communication methods to help one another in times of unrest, fires, and disasters. Also invest in police and firefighter forces instead of defunding them. Thank you, Vicky, Trevor, Nash, and Brock.
I'd like to comment a little bit on that. One is that we are not suggesting defunding police and fire. I happen to think the sheriff, what the work they did during this disaster really should send a message to all of us that they're an important resource. Clackamas County is actually not restricting your business from opening. We have a desire to open up Clackamas County as soon as the governor allows. And we are strictly under state of Oregon law restrictions from the governor's office. We do not, however, restrict any business from opening we are by law required to follow the governor's restrictions. I still, however, believe that this virus is not gone. It is going to get worse, and we need to maintain follow the rules of face masks, washing your hands, social distancing. And if we do this, frankly, if this country did this now for a month, this would all be behind us. But we have people who refuse to follow the rules, and consequently, the governor is forced to shut down the state. Many businesses will be impacted or are being impacted. So if we do this together, like you said, put politics behind us and follow the rules, we could be beyond this pandemic in no time at all.
Right. Thank you very much for that share, Bernard. See, we have a hand that has gone up. It is from, the handle is Ken Fisher, kind of a mix of Ken Humberston and Sonia Fisher. Ken, you can go ahead and you're on.
Hello. So first of all, thanks for putting this thing together. I work for a very large dealership just outside of Clackamas County. And one of the things that we've discussed as a management team is the best way that we can help the fire relief effort. So we put together a few ideas, but we wanted to get some maybe more ideas or input from you guys as far as the best way that we can help. I've reached out to the Oregon Department of Forestry earlier this week, but I know that one of the things that you guys shared was the county soil effort. So my question is two parts. Would it be best for us to work directly with the county area or with the Oregon Department of Forestry? And then my follow-up question would be, we're looking for more of like a reforestation type approach. Would you guys need manpower or maybe materials or trees or things like that to help plant? What would be our best approach for doing something like that?
Well, I would say you go to our website, EOCPIC at clackamas.us, and also we heard the Soil and Water Conservation District that actually goes out, helps people plan, replant, and do many of those things. So it'd probably be both trees and labor to replant our forests. But it's going to take a little while because, as we saw today, there are a lot of trees up there that don't have roots. And so a lot of trees need to be removed before we go out into our forests and try to replant. And I'd say that if you just watch what how the county is going to be dealing with this, or how other agencies are going to deal with this, there will be a point where you can do that. But for now, I would say that Soil and Water Conservation District, and also at that website we mentioned earlier, there are other ideas on how to donate. So take a look at the website, reach out to the Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District, and see what they could use to get us back in recovery. We are working on a recovery plan, but this is going to take a little bit of time. Paul, did you want to add something?
Yeah. I just maybe suggest Gary or staff can provide a contact for a circumstance like this, so if Mr. Fisher doesn't find what he's looking for, there's a means to contact us back so we can follow through. This is sounds like a great opportunity. We appreciate that offer, and we don't want to lose this opportunity. So there's a lot of people in need, and there's got to be a way we can help you navigate and get an answer to the question.
And I think if you call our Emergency Operations Center, somebody would be happy to collect your information.
Do it for me directly. I'm Gary Schmidt, the County Administrator. Contact me. It's gschmidt@clackamas.us, and I'm on the county website. I will take care of it.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. I'm also going to put up on the screen the website that Chair Bernard was referencing. Our wildfire website is clackamas.us/wildfires, and you can find the information that our Emergency Operations Center staff has been putting up. The EOCPIC@clackamas.us is an email for any questions that you have. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. All right. Again, if anyone on Zoom has any questions, you can go ahead and raise your hand. I will go back to the questions that have come in over email ahead of time for just a few more minutes, and then we can wrap up with any comments from the county commissioners. From Dan K. With all the property damage, the need for permits is going to be much greater than usual. I suggest one focus for the county is to make sure the planning and permits section are well-oiled, staffed, and running at peak efficiency. That does not mean discarding important rules and goals. It does mean having clear procedures, good turnaround times, and good clear rules on important points that make sense. So again, that is from Dan K. Thank you very much for that, Dan. I see a hand has gone up on Zoom. It's from Katie, I'll say Dunsmuir. My apologies, Katie. Oh, my apologies, Katie, if I butchered the last name. Please.
No, actually, you got it right. Afternoon, commissioners. So this is Katie Dunsmuir, actually from Estacada. I just wanted to make one comment today while you guys are all listening. I know that there's going to be an after-action review that occurs in the next couple of months, and I just wanted to express how important I think it would be for the cities that were most impacted, cities like Molalla and Estacada, to be a really big part of that after-action review. I've received a lot of feedback from people in our city that were really disappointed by the response, both within our city and the county. And I want to make sure that when that after-action review occurs, that we are all working collaboratively to make sure that the next time an event like this happens, that we are going to be more effective as a government to our constituents. So I just wanted to make that comment, and thank you for everything that you guys have been doing in the last 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Katie. Another comment we received over email. These are from Rick and Pat. The most immediate need is security from mudslides and flooding, for homes and roads, especially where egress is limited. I don't know how we do that, but funds should be diverted where possible to these emergency situations. The wind picked up today, but no rain yet. Are all the fire areas southwest secure from flare-ups caused by the new wind direction? How will we be notified if a new flare-up occurs? For businesses, if over the next 2 weeks we don't have a COVID-19 uptick, places with low COVID-19 in their community, like Estacada, where the fire has dealt a new blow, should be allowed to open with fewer restrictions, as the community really needs these businesses open right now. I'm assuming all these out-of-town service providers are being tested before they come here. Is that correct? The last thing we need is a COVID-19 uptick in Estacada. Again, that is from Rick and Pat. Okay, some more comments that we got ahead of time. This is from SP. Going through Sandy was a major bottleneck. Both main streets needed to be streamlined to facilitate a smooth exodus and not have a rerun of what happened during this fire outbreak. Please stop passing the buck and arguing who is responsible for US 26 going through our town. A problem has been identified. Now please fix it. Again, that is from SP. Let me see. From Stephen L. I live in the evacuation zone for the Doughty Road fire. It puzzles me that you are asking for input on recovery when you have not even given us the opportunity to give you input on how the county's reaction and actions have affected us and what could be done better. To paraphrase a classic phrase, how can you approach the future when you are ignoring the past? I think we talked about it a little bit without the look at the plan after, but yes. A couple more. I see we are close to running out of time, so just one or two more. This one is from Mart H. Dear Chairman and Board of Commissioners, Thank you for the opportunity to address the impacts of the recent wildfires in the county. Today, I would like to address a relatively small fire in Milwaukee that occurred during the windstorm. While this fire was small at 1.3 acres and was contained and suppressed by Clackamas Fire, the response remains an open question. The fire occurred on public property as it is owned by the City of Milwaukee and managed by NCPRD. The property has a City of Milwaukee adapted management plan that specifies the management activities to protect the unique resource values on the island. Given the revenue shortages that are expected from the health and economic crisis this year and the chronic shortfalls in addressing the needs specified in the management plan, it is necessary to request county support in providing support to mitigate the fire damage to this property. As the elected officials overseeing NCPRD, I am requesting communication with the district management conveying the need for fire mitigation. I'm also requesting county assistance in obtaining funds specifically for Elk Rock Island fire mitigation and include this need as part of the larger fire response and request for funds from all sources, including federal, state, local, and other funding endowments. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this issue of importance. Again, that is from Mart H.
I'm pretty sure that Elk Rock Island is not part of NCPRD. Do you, Paul? I've never heard that.
Well, I don't know that it's formally in the boundaries because Elk Rock Island was transferred from Portland to the city of Milwaukee, but it was not officially brought in. But I think we do some work out there, but I'm not sure I don't know the nature of the facts of the fire in Elk Rock, but hard to imagine because there's no infrastructure out there that it may have been human caused. Don't know.
That's something to look into because I don't know anything about Elk Rock Island except that originally it was owned by the Bishop family and went to the city of Portland, and the city of Portland recently turned it over to the city of Milwaukee, which made perfect sense, of course. That's all I know. We'll find out.
Okay. We'll take one last comment and then I'm going to open it up to any commissioner ending thoughts, closing thoughts. But actually, I see that a hand just went up. So it is again from Rachel. Rachel, if you just want to go ahead and unmute yourself, and then you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, did that work?
Yes, please go ahead. But yes.
Just really quickly, the individual damage report on the Wildfire County page doesn't seem to be working. I tried it twice and it failed to send, so I don't know. Just letting you know about that. And again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for letting. Oh, Chair, you're on mute, Chair.
Sorry, I'm sure Gary noted that. I saw him, so we'll note it. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to allow one more. A new hand went up from a new person, so we'll do one more and then we'll go to commissioners. Lori Freeman Swanson. Lori, you are on. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. And please, you're on with commissioners. Thank you.
I live in the Molalla area, and I know that sadly, practice makes perfect. So certainly next time will probably be better. The initial fire outbreak, which was one of the initial ones, which was on Maxburg Road at the 213 intersection and the mill that was there. It was disconcerting that there was a real lack of information. And as I say, practice, next time it'll probably be spot on. But a comment I got from someone who lived over in the Metolius area was talking about the response and the communication setup that just because of all the fires there worked really well for people. There were meetings every morning and the notifications were quick. And so that's the only thing I would say is that I'm no doubt there will be meetings with other areas that have gone through big fires and everything to, pick up more skills in terms of treating all this stuff. Now, also, I know that around the Metolius, Black Butte, that kind of area, there are controlled burns on a very systematic basis now. And, you know, I don't know if that's something that will probably come up or not in our area now, sadly. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Lori. And I see we are quickly approaching 3:30, so I'd like to open it up for any closing comments from any of the commissioners.
So I'll go ahead and just say thank you to everyone participating, giving us the opportunity just to listen to what the concerns are, what your experience is, what is happening for folks is very, very useful for us to spot issues, to develop our priorities, to gather more information, to make us more informed. We are a community that is still a little stymied and a little bit in shock, I must say, and especially after our tour today, it was very, very informative, eye-opening, and while we are so thankful that things were not worse, we still have to sit with the challenge that things are as bad as they are. So with a big heart and a big thank you to everyone. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, my comment, if we just think back just a couple weeks ago, where we were 2 weeks ago, and we had a outbreak of fire all around the state. We had fires all over the state. We were overwhelmed. We heard from the person in charge, who is our fire chief, say that he's asked for help. Everyone is overwhelmed. There is no help to get because everyone's out there assisting elsewhere. And we were alone, so to speak. Clackamas County resources were alone trying to fight multiple fires everywhere. So it is a learned experience. And what's unusual about this fire is, again, it was just from the southern part of the state all the way up to Clackamas. The other aspect about that is that I believe it was Wednesday, the 9th, we heard from the fire chief and staff and all the emergency personnel. We as commissioners were as hungry for information as we could get to figure out ways we could help or be of benefit. And it wasn't until late that day that the state took over the fires and we got state assistance and the resources came. And so therefore on Thursday, we were in a better position than we were literally 12, 13, 14 hours earlier. So it was extremely dynamic. Information was coming in. We had fire personnel, we had our sheriff's personnel, just doing everything they could and just stretched people not even sleeping for 2-3 days fighting these fires. So everyone put every effort they could into this. And we're going to learn from it. We spend a lot of money, taxpayer dollars, essentially planning for emergencies and coordinating. And there's a lot of things that did work. And we're always going to learn. We're never going to be perfect in emergencies. And you know, the emergency that we've spent a lot of time preparing for is the Cascadia earthquake. And I'm certainly hoping that doesn't happen in my lifetime or in your lifetime. But that's what we put a lot of resources on. And I just want to say that after touring some of the facilities, my heart goes out to all those people who lost properties, who spent their life and their passion and love in their home and their property. My heart goes out to you all. But what I did learn today, I thought was very refreshing, were how many properties were actually saved. And that's the upside. There were a lot of properties that were saved. This could have been worse, a lot worse. And considering how many fires there were, I guess we could be thankful for all that assistance that we got. But I'll tell you, that first 48 hours was really rough. It was rough on all of us, and communication systems were overwhelmed. We will get a report after the fact of how things worked, what went right, what went wrong, and we'll be better for it. So I want to thank everyone for participating today, and I've completed my thoughts. Thank you.
Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would point out to folks that when these fires took off here in Clackamas County, throughout the state, there was at least 35 wildfires that had to be fought by the resources that we had available. And that does not include structure fires. That's just wildfires in the state. So when the fire chiefs say that they were stretched very thin, that's an understatement. They truly really did yeoman service to protect people. And that's the measurement, quite frankly, that I go by. More than any other important measurement is that we had no loss of life in Clackamas County. That was their goal, and they were successful in that goal. And yes, somebody may have lost a house, but they will be alive to rebuild it. And that's the most important thing. We will learn from after action reports. We will get better, but there's a thing about battle plans, that no matter what the battle plan is that you have, the enemy doesn't read your battle plan. They have their own. And so you have to be flexible. And the single most important attribute in natural disasters is the flexibility to adjust to the conditions on the ground. And our folks did a masterful job of doing that and saving lives. And that, I will leave my thoughts there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And thank you, Paul, for reminding me of the night that the fire chief said, we have no resources, we have no help coming. And the next morning I got a call, and the state fire marshal, we met with Gary and the chief, the sheriff and the fire districts, and we signed over our control. You know, signing over that control is not easy to do, because literally it was no longer our command. But I'll tell you, I cannot find a lot of mistakes done. I think the mayor of Estacada did an outstanding job. And I also think that our lesson that we learned is that it's impossible to communicate to everyone at all moments what's going on. You know, I met with the mayors and once a week, and then we may have even done once a day for a while there. And our team has been strategizing every day, sometimes more than once, when a problem arises. So I don't have any real regrets here. Rumors make it sound worse than it really is. We did outstanding work. And the firefighters who came from out of state, in-state, and local, our emergency operations people, did an outstanding job. I'm very, very proud. This is the end of my 20th year of politics. And I spent 20 years, Gary, training for this day. And I think the training really worked. And thanks to Nancy Bush from Emergency Operations, our 911 people, who also, and the sheriff and all of us, great team, go team, let's get back to work. And thank you all for joining us today.
Excellent. My thanks to all the commissioners and County Administrator Gary Schmidt for being here today. Just a reminder, Commissioner Martha Schrader was listening in, although not appearing on the screen, but she was listening in. I will end by again sharing the wildfires resource page that Clackamas County offers, clackamas.us/wildfires. You can see the email that was referenced several times here, EOCPIC @clackamas.us, for any questions that you have related to the wildfires. And I would be remiss to not mention that here you can sign up for public alerts. You can sign up to receive the emergency messages that we send out via email, phone call, and text. I'll also go ahead, and we've talked a lot about the after action report. You are always welcome to, at any time, sign up for any of our email subscription lists found at the bottom of any of our web pages by clicking Get Email Updates, and things like that in non-emergency capacities will be sent out through our media releases list, our Board of County Commissioners list, or our monthly e-newsletter as well. So, Dylan Blaylock with Clackamas County for the Commissioners and Gary Schmidt. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.